Peace and blessings, family. This is your boy, Gerald. It's Monday. That's right. It is Monday. You're about to step into a new week, what will be filled with examples, new opportunities, and things that will define not only your life, but it also lets you know you're on track. And I know it's been a little bit since I put a video out. I try to stay current. Shout out to each and every one of you. I hope you had a great week. I hope you were able to enjoy your weekend. But more importantly, because some of us got to work, you are allowing yourself to reflect. Oh, yes, you got to reflect, because if you don't reflect, you are tapping into what we know as impulse. You're not giving yourself permission to be the best you, the living example. Why? Because we're talking about your legacy. So, look, fam, we're on the backside of October. You blink twice, you'll be handing out or you'll be picking up some candies for the babies. Shout out to the parents and gearing up and gearing up for Thursday in a town near you, in a city near you, in a state near you. It is that time, but most importantly, you got to do what's best. Make sure that on Thursday, when they come back or when they decide to have that designated day for Halloween, got to inspect the candies. You got to expect the candies. I know you're going to be seeing some. Oh man, that's my favorite kind right there. You got to make sure, because you got some people that don't want you to be happy and they don't want to see you smile. And they don't smile because they're all about keeping fear going on. But nonetheless, I want to put a video out this morning because these last couple weeks have been very educational, very validating for myself. And, I always convey to the intended ear all the time. Stay prayed up, keep your feet grounded, speak your truth, sidestep the negative. Because you got to do that, fam. Because, look at the narrative for this year. Look at it. A lot of indirect, a lot of cowardice behavior that's been put out for you to sort through. But I think a lot of you have already come to a point that you see the writing on the wall. Some of you have actually at first tried to give it a pass, tried to turn a blind eye, pick your battles, and you should. And sometimes it's been downright disrespectful as well as disappointing. But here's the positive in that. And what I mean by the positive is the year is basically over with, fam. You need to take note, if you have not, from this point on, right here. Look at where you are compared to where you were the first day of this year. Look at all the experiences, which I know would be hard to grasp. Look at all the transition and transformations that you have embraced, some by choice, some by reaction. Because 50% of the people on this planet Their narrative is either being proactive and the other 50% is reactive. But guess what? Some of y'all have come to that conclusion and you realize that because the environment that you embraced the beginning of this year by choice or by situation, and you've noticed that there's a lot of empty space. The people that had given you access to your life, notice operative word, your life, that were invested, they're not there no more. They're not around. And may have felt you feeling a little depleted, or I shall say this, at times baffled. Because it was all good yesterday. The bond, the synergy was like that. And have you noticed the more that you invest in yourself, in your life, the more space you obtain? Why? It's quite simple. As I've always said, an opportunist does not need your help to expose themselves. What is only required of you is to acknowledge what is being given. Because at the end of the day, it's a choice. So, with that being said, even the said opportunist, and I don't mean that to be negative, I'm looking at that from a perspective of acknowledgement of what is real compared to what is an illusion. The one thing that never changes is truth, your truth. Because that can be the most profound and scary at the same time. Because you will have that aha moment. Sometimes, unbeknownst to you, it may feel like a train wreck. You may be wondering, why is all this happening to me at this moment? Why at this moment, right now? Why am I going through this? Well, it's quite obvious. Don't you realize how blessed you are? Huh? It has to be because that is the linchpin of what is needed for us to learn, for us to grow. That's why anything that has value must yield. Just like the seasons on this earthly realm, every season has a priority, has a natural order that it must to adhere to. It has to. If it does not, it becomes stagnant. And if it becomes stagnant, therefore it can't grow. And unfortunately, it must, it dies. So that's why maybe family, as I always joke, I say, it was all good yesterday. They ain't around now. And guess what? Some of your friendships, some of your commitments have been challenged, haven't they? Why? Because God has got something better. And just as everything functions in the most highest time, it is not by your doing, it's by your acceptance. And when you're willing to accept, that doesn't mean submit. I mean accept what makes your environment, you'll also understand how transparent and the benefit of being intimate with yourself. Because guess what? Not everybody's going to earn the right. Not everybody's going to earn the right to know your life, know your story, know your middle name, hear you breathe. That is a blessing in itself. The greatest gift you could ever bestow to a person is time. You can't buy that. Just like the words that are coming from my mouth, once they are given, I can't take them back. They're given, just like your dreams. Those are yours. They're custom tailored for your life. Now I gotta throw this out there. There's a responsibility that comes with that too. And with that responsibility, you have to also acknowledge the investment of that said dream. How important is it to you? What are you willing to sacrifice? And the word sacrifice really is nothing but investment. And what is the payment? Time. So, with that being said, fam, blink twice, it'll be November. Blink twice again, the year will come to a close. So, it's important, if you're not already thinking ahead, you can't logically come up with a game plan to execute. Don't worry about what you don't have control of at this point. Maybe what's going on right now is the fact that you're willing to be transparent to acknowledge what is needed. That's all that's required. Because everything will play out as it should. Now, I got to say this. The one thing that will come into question and that will always be challenged next to you, next to your intellect, your ethic, and your drive will be your bonds. I ain't got to tell you that. Haven't you noticed the times that the things that were valuable to you that you said, hey, I'll get to that tomorrow? The moment that you decided to say, hey, I need to pick that back up and see this through, that was when that's when your bonds got you know, you caught the most drama then now, didn't you? Why? It's because you may have given access to someone that their sole purpose was to keep you at bay, to keep you distracted. Maybe all along they saw something in you that resonated in them, and you were the example. But the closer you got to it, the more threatened they got. Who am I talking to? I really, really believe, family, 2020 is going to be the breakout year for a lot of y'all. Now, the sad reality about that is the moment you decide to commit to that, the people that you think that are going to be there to celebrate that, they're not going to be in sight. They're not going to be around. And just as quick as they came into your life, just as quick as they will be removed. Why? It has to. It has to come to pass. It has to. And that's okay. It's okay. Because all things come full circle. Why? Because that's required. That's what's required to validate your placement today. So I got to ask you this. How many of y'all have given yourselves thought of where you see yourself in 6 months? What do you want to check off 6 months from now? Only that's something that you know. Only whatever that is can be manifested the closer you are intimate with yourself. Think about it. Maybe you made a decision today and you say, well, you know what? I want to pursue my education. I want to enhance my health. I might want to have a better quality of life when it comes to just mental health. How is it in 2019 now? You have far more people that will acknowledge that their emotional state is their biggest detriment, but won't do anything about it. Like, this is as best it's going to get. Nothing I can do will change it. That's an illusion. It only becomes fact if you acknowledge to remain in the same projection and perception of what's here. Because nobody can make you change. But here's the beautiful thing about change: no one, you're not required to seek permission from nobody. That is a decision only you can make. Look, I'll do one better. How many of y'all are dreaming about your relationships being better? Hmm? Let's be honest. What about your relationship with your coins? But guess what? Until you decide to invest in the relationship with yourself first, none of that will come to play. None of that will come to pass because you are the source. You are the common denominator. So guess what? Until you decide to give yourself what you need, not what you want, what you need, will your life change? The viewpoint of your life. And it's okay because one of the most, you know what the biggest challenge for some people about their reality is they won't acknowledge it's theirs. They won't take ownership of it. They'll give you every type of excuse under the stars why life is playing out the way it is. But not one time will they take ownership. Why? I'll do you one better. How many times have you had someone offer suggestions, right? But because how it was delivered, how the packaging of it was given, you automatically dispelled it, only to eventually say, well, you know what? The delivery wasn't right, but the substance was on point. That's exactly how I felt. And and I think a lot of times people don't like the fact that their worst critic or criticism, well, first of all, the worst criticism that you could ever have to face with is the one that's found right here. Because nobody can criticize you better than you. Because that's what builds your insecurities. That's what fuels your doubts. That's also what also feeds procrastination. Oh, I'll get it tomorrow. Oh, I can't do this because I need that for this. But if I had that, then I'd be there. But guess what? The clock is still running. Time is still going, and you are getting older, or you're constantly evolving because this is temporary. This is only this is only meant for you to move around this earthly realm. That's why possessions come and go. I'll do you one better. Think about that time you said, okay, I'm gonna go shopping, right? You saw something hanging up, and it caught your eye. But it didn't have any value to you until you possessed it. You understand what I'm trying to say? The person that made it already gave it up, right? For it to be sold. But it's you as the consumer that dictated the price of it by making it your own. Same thing with your dreams. How many times have you said to yourself, if I only could have did this, if I only done that, if this only blah blah blah. What's keeping you from it? What's keeping you from it? Because if you're waiting on your environment to give you the green thumb, you may never see it. And I'll do you one better. Just look at your exes. How about that? Because if they wanted you to be the best you, wouldn't they been the example of that and y'all still be together today? Who am I talking to? Did I strike a nerve? Because last time I checked, you don't have a shackle on your foot keeping you in place. But there are plenty of people doing time in their mind because they're afraid. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? Was found outside your door? I mean, I do one better. I'm gonna be. I'm. Here's a good. Hold on. We live in a world now that people think this is all you need, and that is the persuader. When in actuality, it is nothing but an animate object. No more, no different than your cell phone, just as powerful. But your strongest weapon is this: common sense, being authentic with yourself, making concessions that, hey, you know what? I'm tired of doing this. I'm tired of getting the same outcome, expecting something to change. Albert Einstein always quoted it about insanity. Insanity is doing the same behavior, expecting a different outcome. When all that is being required is to acknowledge what you need compared to what you don't. So, with that being said, we're going into 2020, and you have more people that have opportunity that don't want to take it, but want to give an excuse why they didn't take it. You got one life, family. One. You are the orator. You are the architect of your legacy. I ain't trying to sound grim. I'm not. But you do understand that we can agree that no man knoweth the time or moment when they're going to take their last breath. But not to sound morbid or grim, what you stand on and what you stand for will fit in that little hash of when you took your first breath compared to when you took your last. That little hash, that is your life. And far too many times, family, we want to turn around and say, well, I can't do this because of whatever is considered the descriptive word. Does racism exist? You're damn right it does. But what feeds racism? Fear. Fear. Envy. Lack of knowledge. So if you're not keeping the three mind, body, spirit, you're not investing in that, you can't expect for your dreams, your direction, or your empowerment to be fulfilled until you decide to get here. You can't sleep your way through it, even though people will try it. Trust me, you know, the relationship draft will always go on till the end of time. There'll always be grand opening, grand closing. But I will say this, and I don't want to be winded. Don't be afraid of the word goodbye. Flip it and say God bless. Because the more and more that you take empowerment in your life, which means you have to be honest with yourself, the more clarity you'll get in return. Energy out is energy returned. Don't worry about who don't want to invest. Don't. Please don't. Kings, stop tripping on the package. You need to be you need to look at the character. You realize how many listen, you realize how many lonely people are on this planet that are in relationships? We used to call that being like the Joneses. On the outside, they had everything got it going on. But inside, they were an island to themselves. You can see this also where you work. How many people you know, by example, have the optimum job, but they hate it? And you see it in how they perform it. They're the first ones to complain about, they come in the door complaining. They haven't even worked a minute yet. They're already complaining. But don't have the courage to leave it. If you're so miserable, what keeps you clocking in, clocking out, cashing in your paycheck? What keeps you there? Well, maybe This frustration is what's going to motivate, empower you to be an entrepreneur if that's your calling. Because everybody's got a calling. Everybody. So the tragedy and the travesty is knowing you have a God given talent and you're not preparing it to release it to the world. You realize how many talented people? Well, we only use 6% of our brain. Six. And look at all the innovations that they're out there. Yes, we've got a lot of copycats out there because they believe the philosophy that imitation is flattery. Originality is why you earn the talent. You earn the title of classic, timelessness. You're timeless. Why? You're blessed. You're blessed. So why are you wasting energy on anything that won't bring the best you out? Why are you doing it? I'm telling you this so you won't make the same mistakes I did. I had to travel all over the world to figure that out. I It took me 27 years to figure that out. And now I'm 50. I know, right? Go figure. Yeah. I know, don't trip on that. That's because of the environment. I work around airplanes and so that's the fuel and you know, exposure like your hair follicles are is the body's litmus paper. You do know that, right? Why do you think your body ages like it does? Because it's exposed to what your environment and what's in it and what you consume. That's why the body is so. When you think about it, the human body is magnificent for the day to day stuff you go through, the abuse, wear and tear. Because you got some grown ups that are still clumsy. Come on now, that's life. But even if you fall down, family, get the hell up. Because just know you are loved. You know how you know you're loved? You figured out yet? You're hearing this, but you're alive. You're alive. You realize how many people that that didn't even register? Yes, I understand. Somebody saying, "Well, Gerald, what about people that wrong place, wrong time, or young children?" Everybody has a purpose. Don't you ever think that you don't. And I'll do one better. You might not realize this, but your very smile will be the key to unlock somebody's heart in the intended time. Now you might not believe that right now. And you might be thinking that your life is more mundane right now because the truth of the matter is you long for attention. You want attention. But what is attention? It's investment. You can't expect anybody to invest in you when they want to invest in themselves. That's all I'm saying. So I'm gonna shut my mouth. Listen here, family. I know some of y'all are looking at your paper and trying to like, look here, I'm tired of this check to check. I'm tired of going through this. I want to get off the hamster wheel of finance. We all go through that. But it starts today. It starts right now when you decide, okay, this is my target, this is my trajectory, and this is what I'm going to do to reach my goal. That's what I'm saying. Because I'm going to tell you what, family, just as you see this now, this time next year, it's going to change again. I know you see it you see it from here. I'm telling you, how many times look at my catalogs and look at the backdrops because just like the classic Soul to Soul song, keep on moving, don't stop. You know why? It's your legacy that's what's at stake. So how bad do you want it? How precious is your smile? How much do you want to know what love is? Because you can't buy love. It is earned, but it's defined when you finally have courage to look that beautiful person in the mirror and say, yes, I love you. God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps me define, it helps me discern mine. I'm gonna tell you what, family, we're almost on the back. We're this year's pretty much a wrap. So make sure that what you don't want to carry it over into the new year, you start working on it today. It ain't, that's why you hear people talk about goal setting, time management. That's all that's required. But you can't do nothing until you acknowledge what is real from what's a distraction. Why? You're blessed. Peace. Love to hear from you. Have a great week.